Monk sitting in complete stillness while chaos happens around him. People shouting, deadlines collapsing, disasters unfolding. And somehow his face remains unreadable, calm, almost untouched by the storm. Your first instinct might be to assume he simply does not feel things the way you do, that years of practice have numbed him into indifference.
But that assumption is wrong, and understanding why it is wrong reveals one of the most powerful truths about the human mind that modern life has almost completely buried. Monks feel everything just as intensely as anyone else. The difference is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of space between stimulus and reaction, a space most people never develop because they have never been taught it exists. For the average person, something happens and a reaction fires almost instantly, automatic, unfiltered, often regretted moments later. For a trained mind, something happens and there is a pause, small but real, where a response is chosen rather than triggered, and that pause changes literally everything about how life is experienced. This pause is not magic or spiritual mystery.
It is trained capacity, built the same deliberate way physical strength is built, through repeated, intentional practice performed long before the pressure arrives. Monks do not develop this calm during the crisis itself. They develop it during years of ordinary, unglamorous daily discipline, sitting in silence when the mind screams for stimulation, observing thoughts without acting on them, practicing restraint in areas most people never even consider training at all.
One of the most overlooked disciplines in monastic tradition, rarely discussed openly in modern content, is the careful management of core physical energy, particularly sexual energy. This was never treated as incidental. Monastic traditions across cultures placed enormous emphasis here, specifically because they recognized this urge as one of the strongest, most primal forces operating within a human being.
If a person can observe and redirect this particular impulse with awareness instead of automatic reaction, nearly every other emotional trigger becomes significantly easier to manage by direct comparison. This is not about repression or denial, concepts often confused with genuine discipline. Repression pushes feelings down forcefully, where they eventually resurface, often more intensely than before.
What monks practice instead is closer to observation, noticing an urge arise, acknowledging it fully without judgment, and consciously choosing whether to act on it, rather than being pulled along automatically. This distinction matters enormously, because observation builds internal strength, while repression only builds internal pressure that eventually demands release in some form. Over years of this practice, something measurable happens within the nervous system itself. The baseline state of the body shifts from reactive to responsive. Situations that would send an untrained person into panic or anger simply register differently for someone who has spent years training this internal pause. This is why monks can witness genuinely difficult circumstances and remain composed, not because the circumstance matters less to them, but because their internal system has been trained to process intensity without being overwhelmed by it. Modern life makes this training exceptionally difficult, arguably more difficult than at any point in human history. We are surrounded by constant stimulation, instant gratification, and environments specifically engineered to trigger immediate reaction rather than reflection. Every notification is designed to demand instant attention. Every piece of content is engineered for immediate emotional response.
In this environment, the pause between stimulus and reaction shrinks smaller and smaller, until many people live almost entirely reactive lives without ever realizing a different way of existing is even possible. This is precisely why calm feels rare and impressive when you witness it in someone else. It is not because that person has an easier life or fewer problems. It is because they have deliberately trained a capacity that the environment actively works against. Every monk who appears unshakable spent years, sometimes decades, in small rooms in silence, practicing restraint in areas nobody was watching,
building an internal reserve of stillness that eventually became visible to everyone around them without them needing to announce it at all. The good news, genuinely, is that this capacity is not reserved for people who abandon modern life and retreat to monasteries. The same principles apply in ordinary daily existence, scaled appropriately. You do not need years of isolated silence to begin building this pause. You need consistent, small, deliberate practice in the exact areas where your reactions currently feel automatic, uncontrolled, and immediate, especially in the areas involving your strongest physical and emotional impulses. Begin with awareness before action becomes your practice. When you feel an urge, whether anger, impulsive consumption, or primal physical energy demanding immediate release, pause before responding. Notice the sensation fully. Do not suppress it and do not immediately act on it. Simply observe it for a few extra seconds longer than feels comfortable. This small, uncomfortable pause is precisely where monastic-level calm actually begins to form, repetition by repetition, moment by moment, over weeks and months of consistent practice. Silence practice accelerates this significantly.
Even 10 minutes daily, without noise, without a phone, without distraction, begins training your nervous system to tolerate stillness instead of immediately reaching for stimulation. In the beginning, this will feel deeply uncomfortable, almost unbearable for some people, because the mind has been conditioned toward constant input for years.
Stay with the discomfort anyway, because this exact discomfort is the training itself, the same resistance a muscle experiences right before it grows stronger. Safety to your nervous system, interrupting the automatic reaction cycle before it fully takes over your behavior. Monks use breath constantly, not as a symbolic ritual, but as a practical, immediate tool to widen that crucial pause between stimulus and reaction whenever pressure arises unexpectedly throughout an ordinary day, not just during formal meditation sessions. Over time, as you consistently train this pause across small daily moments, something remarkable begins happening in bigger, more stressful situations as well. Circumstances that once triggered panic start to feel more manageable.
Conversations that once spiraled into conflict start to feel navigable instead of threatening. This is not because life became easier, it is because you became someone capable of meeting difficulty with a trained internal system instead of an untrained, automatic, reactive one that was never built to handle real pressure calmly. I want you to understand this clearly because it matters more than almost anything else discussed on this channel.
Calm is not a personality trait reserved for certain fortunate people. It is trainable, accessible, and available to you starting today, regardless of how reactive or overwhelmed you currently feel in daily life. The monk sitting in stillness was not born different from you. He simply started training this exact capacity years before you did, and starting today means you are no longer behind. You are simply beginning.
If this explanation gave you a new way of understanding calm, something you had not considered before this exact moment, hit the like button right now, because this message deserves to reach people who assume calm is unattainable for someone like them, when in reality, it is simply unpracticed, waiting patiently to be built through the exact small steps we just walked through together.
Share this with someone who reacts explosively to small things, someone who seems constantly on edge, because this video might offer language and understanding they have genuinely never encountered before in exactly this way. You could be the reason someone finally understands their reactivity is not permanent, not fixed, and completely within their capacity to change starting from today onward.
Subscribe if you want to keep building this internal stillness alongside a growing community learning the exact same principles, because this channel exists specifically to guide you through ancient discipline translated into practical modern steps you can actually apply. Turn on notifications so every new lesson reaches you the moment it releases, keeping your training consistent instead of scattered and forgotten between videos.
Thank you sincerely for staying until this final moment, because your patience through this entire video was itself a quiet demonstration of the exact capacity we have been discussing throughout. Keep training this pause daily, Keep showing up for yourself consistently, and trust that the calm you are building right now, quietly, unnoticed by anyone else, will eventually become the steadiest, strongest part of who you are.